In today's video, I have 5 very simple and very budget-friendly Christmas decor DIY projects that I think you are going to love. I can't wait to show them to you, so stay tuned. Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. My name is Melissa and in today's video, yes, I have some Christmas crafts for you. Today's video is a collaboration that is held every month where we create crafts that cost $5 or less each. Today's theme is welcoming in Christmas. So I have for you 5 things that I have either thrifted from the thrift store or honestly gotten for free, and I'm gonna make them over into beautiful Christmas decor. Now this collaboration is hosted by Farm Charm Chic, and the co-host this month is Divine Designs. I'm gonna leave their channels listed in the description box, as well as a link to the playlist. We're gonna have a lot of Christmas decor motivation for you, and it's all on a budget, so you're not gonna wanna miss any of it. So when you're finished here, make sure you go check out that playlist. But for now, let's go ahead and get to crafting those Christmas items. For this under $5 craft, I'm gonna be using this hanging wood decor from Dollar Tree, so $1.25. I'm gonna paint it and I'm gonna use a transfer, and I'm gonna use this Redesign with Prima transfer set called Joyful Jingles, and we carry these in the store where I have my booth, but you may be able to find them online. I'll see if I can find a link, but if not, you can use any transfer. And this transfer comes with 3 pages, so by the time I use all of these, it's still going to keep me under that $5 mark. But for the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint both sides of this as well as the sides in this plaster color, but I did mix some Snow White, Waverly Snow White, because I'm running really low on this. So, but anyway, it's just kind of a mixture. But I'm gonna get this painted and then we'll do the transfer. Here are the 3 sheets from the Redesign Christmas set. So now I just have to decide which one I want to use. Using the transfers are very simple. You just take the white piece off the back, lay the transfer onto your project, rub it with the stick, and when you've transferred everything on, then you go over it with that clear sheet and it burnishes that in. Now I'm going to go over it with a a clear wax, and then I'm going to go around the edges with an antique wax, go around the sides, wipe off any excess. Then when I get to the edges, I'm going to start kind of dabbing with my shop towel and wiping back the excess just to kind of, blend it in. And this is how it turned out. I think these are really cute. These sold really well in my booth last year, so I'm hoping it will do the same this year. For this project, I found this little teapot at Salvation Army, and it was on sale for 99 cents. For the body of it, I'm using Waverly chalk paint in ivory, and for the handles, unless I change my mind, I'm using the Waverly chalk paint in the color cinnamon. Is that cinnamon? Crimson. Sorry, not cinnamon, it's crimson. Didn't have my glasses on. So anyway, that's how I'm painting it. This did require 2 coats, and for the first coat, I just brushed it on just to get some paint on there for the second coat to grip onto. When I did the second coat, I went over it with the pouncing motion, which I love to do. I just feel like it gives it a good texture. I did end up having to do like a half coat just for the parts that there still wasn't very good coverage. I just made sure everything was painted. Now for the spout and the handle, I did it in the red, and I did do 2 coats. The first coat, I just brushed it on. The second coat, I still brushed it, but every now and then I would do a little dab. Really didn't show brush marks that bad, but I wanted to make sure it got good coverage. So I did do the pouncing motion on the outer parts of the spout and the handle, not up close to where the white is, because I didn't want to get, red paint on the white paint. I did also decide to paint that bottom trim part red, as well as this top little rim, painted it red as well. All right, I have finished painting, and I did use 2 coats. And I don't know if this is new, but I've never seen it before, but it's a Waverly varnish in matte. Once I started using the varnish up against that red, I stopped what I was doing because I was seeing that it was starting to run a little bit. All right, you saw how I struggled with doing the Waverly on here. I think the red either just didn't cure long enough, but it started kind of running a little bit. So and I do want to use that on the whole piece. So before I am going to use that, I went ahead and sprayed the whole piece and the lid with this acrylic sealer matte finish. Now I could just use this because it is a quick dry, but I do also want to use the Waverly sealer as well, just to give it as much protection as possible. All right, now that everything is dry, I am going to use a transfer from this Redesign with Prima set called Joyful Jingles. And so for the front of this teapot, I think I'm going to use this. And then possibly for just right here on the lid, I may use this one. Now, because this is a rounded surface and there is a little bit of texture from the way I painted it, I'm using my fingers to rub the transfer onto the piece. And when I get halfway through, I start kind of cutting some of that clear transfer paper just so that it doesn't wrinkle, and I'm able to lay the transfer down in parts. Now that I have the transfers on there, I'm just going to go over it with a little bit more of that varnish just to seal that transfer in. And this project is done. And here it is finished. I just think this turned out so pretty. So when you're thrifting, don't overlook those little teapots. For this project, I'm going to make this into a Christmas frame, and I'm going to start by taking off the back, and I'm going to paint it. This is something that I thrifted actually from my neighborhood. I just put out a post in our neighborhood Facebook page that I was looking for frames, and someone gave this one to me, so this was free. So this will definitely be an under $5 project, but I'm gonna paint this in the Waverly chalk paint in the color Crimson. Now this is a plastic frame, so I'm gonna do 3 coats of the paint, and then I'm gonna spray it with a sealer because I do want to use a white wax to kind of soften up the red to match the transfer. All right, for the frame, for the inside of the frame, I have cut out a little piece of cardboard. Instead of painting it, I am going to use one of the pieces of this Paper Studio sheets of paper. And I think the one that I'm going to use is, where is it? This one. I just think it's soft and it'll be a pretty background. And then I'm going to use a transfer on top of it. And the transfer is coming from Nutcracker Christmas from Redesign with Prima. And this is that set, and I'll show you. I think these are so pretty. But see how all the tones are muted? That's why I want to use the white wax on the frame. But look at her, isn't she pretty? So anyway, these are so pretty. I trace out the paper and I cut it out to the size it needs to be. And then I'm just going to put that transfer on top of the paper. Again, the same way I used the little stick this time to release that image from the paper, from the plastic, and then I burnish it in with the plastic. Next, I'm going to use the Mod Podge, put the paper down, and let that dry. Well, like I said, this is plastic. The paint has nothing to hold on to. So after I sprayed it with the sealer, look what happened. The paint started coming off. So now that I have the sealer on there, I'm going to go over it again with another coat of paint. Hopefully the sealer will grab onto that paint and then I can seal it again. Hopefully. Y'all keep y'all's fingers crossed. This time I'm going to paint it with that pouncing motion. This will give me better coverage and it'll give it a little bit of extra texture. All right, the paper is nice and adhered to the cardboard, so I do need to seal, even though this is going to be behind glass, I do need to seal the transfer. So I'm just going to go over the top of this with one more coat of Mod Podge, and I'm going to let that dry. And I have the, let me get this smooth. All right, I have the frame, and that last coat I did with that pouncing motion, so I have good coverage. Now I want to try to protect the paint, so I'm gonna go over it with the Waverly varnish. Hopefully this will not pull that paint, and I'm gonna go with a light hand. So hopefully this will not pull that paint off of the plastic, but it will seal it in. So once these two things dry, then I'm gonna come in with the white wax on the frame, and then we can put it all together. For the white wax, you just put it on like regular wax and you wipe back the excess. And if you have too much, you can go back over it with the clear wax and get it to the finish you want it to be. I feel like it needs just a little something else. So I have these little ribbons and I'm just gonna make a little bow, and it's just gonna go right here in the corner, and it's gonna be a super simple bow, just a little crisscross, and kind of see if that's about as big as I want it. This is an easy one, and I think that's about the right size. So now I'll just cut about right here, and then I will make the little bow. Again, I just do the little crisscross. I grab it in the middle, pinch it together, and then I'm gonna use that same really skinny, narrow ribbon and tie it around the middle to tie it all together. And then once I have it tied, I will I'll hot glue it to the corner. And then I found a little gold button that I thought looked really cute. I'll trim off a little bit of the length and then this project is done. I think this turned out so sweet and so Christmassy. And it was definitely less than $5. For this project, I am gonna take this. This was a hand soap dispenser, and I wasn't even thinking about filming it when I got this, but there was a vendor in our booth that was leaving, a vendor in our store that was leaving the store, and she had a few things left, so she said, y'all go to my booth, whatever's left, y'all can have. So this was free, and it was a hand soap thing, but immediately I thought this would be beautiful at Christmas as sort of a bud vase for your Christmas florals. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paint this red since I have my red paint out. I'm gonna paint this red, and then I'm gonna go over these beautiful details with a gold rub and buff. And then I will tie a gold kind of ribbon or string around the top just to cover that part where, you know, where you screw the top on, and just to cover that up and make a bow to go on top. And I think that will be so pretty. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get this painted. Once again, I'm using that Waverly chalk paint in crimson, and I did go over this with 2 coats. All right, to bring out that pretty detail, I'm gonna use, this is the only thing I have. I don't have like the little tubes of rub and buff exactly, but this is called Gold Rush, and it's in metallic luster, or the brand is metallic luster. And so I'm just going to dab it on my fingers and just lightly go over those details. That are raised. That's so Christmassy. Once this side was done, I turned it over and did the same thing to the other side. And then I did the same thing. I put some of the gold on the top of the rim. And before I finish this off with a little bow around the top, I'm gonna go ahead and spray it with the matte sealer. Now that everything is dry, I've sprayed it, everything is ready to have the finishing touch. I have these two little gold ribbons that I'm gonna use just to kind of wrap it a couple times. Now I'm gonna snip off the ends and this project will be finished. I think this turned out so pretty, and for something that was free, I think this is beautiful. What do you think? Let me know. For this project, I'm using this little cutting board that I got from Hobby Lobby. The price on it is $2.49, but I got it for 40% off. So that's about $1.50. So this project is definitely gonna cost less than $5. I have this casting resin that I'm gonna use in a mold. And this is some that I already have. And by the time I use it, it's only a small little portion of the cost of this. I'm also going to use a sheet of this paper from this book. The book was $7, and then I can't remember if it was 40 or 50% off when I got it, but I'm gonna use one of the sheets. I'm gonna use that sheet right there as I'm gonna decoupage it to my cutting board. And I'm gonna use my little ornament casting on top, and it's gonna make a cute little shelf sitter, tier tray, decor, however you wanna use it. So let me go ahead, and the first thing I'm gonna do is get my casting done, and then I'm going to put my paper on my little board. The casting resin that I'm using is a quick cure resin. Once you mix part A and part B, look how quick it cures. It takes about 10 minutes. Now for the paper, I am going to be putting some string around this neck part. So the paper doesn't cover the whole thing. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to cut a piece out of this red portion. And that, when I put this on top, this is gonna go here. It's not gonna matter that there's not a perfect seam like that, because this is gonna have the string around it. It'll make sense once you see me do it. Before I put the decoupage paper or paper, before I decoupage it onto the front or back, whatever, I'm gonna paint the other side and the sides with this red. It's a Waverly chalk paint in the color Crimson. So I'm gonna paint this first and let it dry. Once the paint's dry, I turn it over and I put a good coat of Mod Podge, and I get that paper put down and I mash it down really good. Then while that's drying, my casting mold is ready, so I just pop it out of the silicone, which I would like to say thank you, Miss Nancy, for letting me use your silicone. But now that that is ready, I'm gonna go ahead and get it painted in that same color red, and then I'm going to sand off the paper from the little cutting board. I want to seal the top of the paper, so I put another coat of Mod Podge and let it dry. Now to bring out the details in the ornament, I am going to lightly just kind of dry brush on the top with Waverly chalk paint in the color Ivory. Here's the chalk paint, it's in Ivory. And that is really all I'm gonna do to the top. Now to seal this in, I wanna make sure it gets sealed in good. I'm just gonna use the acrylic sealer in the matte finish. For the neck area, I'm just gonna use this kind of whitish, I have to fix that. But I'm gonna use the sort of string to just wrap around. And I'm gonna make kind of a messy wrap. I don't want it to be real neat. So I'm just gonna kind of go like this. And then come back here and finish it off where I started. Give that a cut. Like I said, I'll have to fix that up. Now that this is dry, I'm gonna go over it with some wood glue and then a couple dabs of, making sure I get around the edges, then a couple dabs of hot glue, and that will hold it in place until the wood glue has had time to dry. And I think to finish it off, I'm going to use some of this antique wax. And I have this little bitty sponge dauber. And I'm just going to go around the edges. And this is how it turned out. Honestly, I think this one may be my favorite. You'll have to tell me what you think in the comments. Before we leave, I do want to leave you with a Bible verse, and this one comes from Philippians 1:11. May you always be filled with the fruit of your salvation, the righteous character produced in your life by Jesus Christ, for this will bring much glory and praise to God. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope the scripture blessed you, and I hope that you got a little bit of Christmas motivation. Thanks once again so much to Farm Charm Chic and Divine Designs for putting on this collaboration. It's always so fun, and if you're new to my channel and you love this sort of content, then I would love it if you would be a part of my YouTube family by clicking that subscribe button. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up because it does help me out with YouTube. And if you want to see more videos like this, then check out the boxes you see on the screen right now. And I'll see you next time. Bye.